Welcome to Global Morning.
Death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure. Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle with the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a life. The president never gave me any deadline.
Hello and welcome to another beautiful day. It is a wonderful day right here. It is a Monday morning. You know how it is on Monday mornings. And of course, the first working day of the week, a lot of people take it very seriously, like it actually needs to be taken because the first working day of the week will determine how your week will go. I'm so glad that you woke up from the good side of the bed this morning, and I'm also glad that you can hear my voice right here. It is Global Morning on Global Television, reaching you live and direct from the nation's capital, Abuja, Nigeria. It is the 28th day of April 2025. It appears April came with some form of force, some form of push, and it's going by to make way for May. April, a lot of people had expectations in April. Well, you don't have to bother if you couldn't achieve your expectations in April. May is still there. We are still kicking. That's going to be the 5th month of the year. 12 months in a year, then 5 is gone out of it. How many do we have left? 7. If my mathematical sense it's not deceiving me, then it means we still have like 7 more months left. But then, how has it been politically? How has it been societal-wise? What about national development? What's happening? How are you faring? What's happening around you? Well, I think there are so many things that are happening in the country, and we are excited that everyone is part of the system. And as it is, I also want you to know that Nigeria is the only country that we have. All right, so we need to do everything possible to make sure things go on well. Well, the renewed push, we all know that over the week there were so many things that happened. And of course, we are so excited that Nigeria is our country. Nigeria is growing. And of course, a lot of agendas. But then I just don't want to talk about the issue of defecting. A lot of people, should I say, massive exodus of people to the ruling party. Are we about having a one-party system, or probably we are going to be having 2 parties? Well, the women, I don't know. I think 2027 we should give women more chance, because the agitation for give us a chance has been so much, and I so much believe in giving the women a chance. As a matter of fact, I'm excited. Today is a beautiful day for me, and the Monday, the Tag Team Monday, you know how we do it. As a matter of fact, we are pushing it, and of course, so much lined up for you on Global Morning today, because we'll be bringing you to speed with the National Daily as always. Then we will also look at 2 major topical issues. I think we need to look at a human angle perspective today, human angle topic today. Apart from talking about the fact that Nigerians are going through so much economically, I think we should also talk about some fundamental human rights, some things that has to do with the law. Some persons will tell you categorically that they don't believe in the judicial system anymore. But then I think it is okay, all right? It is okay for us to believe in the judicial system. Well, we'll go on a quick break. After this break, we'll return. And of course, Global Morning continues as we bring you the National Daily. But then Jumai Manson wants to say something, but before she said that thing, let's go on a quick break. As a matter of fact, the reason why we need to go on a quick break is because I need to really come to terms with what you want to say. Yeah, don't worry. I just want to keep you in suspense for a minute. You hear it from her mouth, not from my mouth. For me, it is good morning. Her own good morning will come from her too. All right, let's go on a quick break. We'll be right back.
Well, good morning to each and every one of you out there. In fact, this was not supposed to be the intro for me. The intro was supposed to be happy birthday to you. That was the intro. Happy birthday to you.
I knew I was going to say it. Yeah. So I keeping everyone in suspense. Yeah, I knew she was going to say it.
Definitely. For me, I wanted to give you the opportunity to shine all through by doing your introduction, talking about everything you want to talk about, how you support women. I
because the first person that wished me a happy birthday this morning was a woman. So I came up with that consciousness that men, number one, women can remember things.
Yes, we do.
If you want anything to be safe, leave it in the hands of
A woman, yes.
You know, and if you don't want to feel pains, you need to have a woman because they are always the neck.
Yes, we are always the leg.
The neck.
Don't ever forget.
The head can never exist without the neck.
The military term will tell you we are your 2IC, second in command. So you can't do without us, okay? So
thank you for wishing me happy birthday.
you're most welcome. I wish you many more amazing, beautiful, fantastic years,
you.
Ramsey.
Thank you, Ms.
And I
Mason.
pray that God will always answer your prayers.
Amen.
Call 1,000s will appear.
Amen.
Happy birthday, my dearest friend.
Thank you very much.
All right, it's a beautiful global morning, and of course, like you see, women are very considerate. Ramsey didn't mention that part. Of course, I had to allow Ramsey to shine because today is his big day. God has added another year to his amazing years, so we wish him many more. Of course, you know my cake has to be very. This hype is not free.
That is sure. That is sure.
This hype cannot be free. Of course, you know you're going to give me a very big portion of cake. Well, Tag Team Monday.
Yeah, Tag Team Monday, you know how we do it.
Yes.
So this is Tag Team Monday, so you don't expect anything less.
No.
More that today is celebration. I
Exactly.
think we need to transmit this to all Nigerians right now because
Really?
there is a celebration here and we extend it to everyone.
Okay.
So it's obvious that everyone is going to have a good day. I wish all of you a very good day.
Oh, Ramsey, Ramsey.
Don't be surprised if anyone walks to you today and the person gives you a gift. Don't be surprised.
Okay.
It's because that's what we're transmitting. That's what we're transferring to
Really?
everyone.
Okay.
What we have, we give.
What we have, we give. Yeah, that's very true. At the same time, wishing all of you out there an amazing week ahead. You know, coming this morning, you know, I was just curious. I just want to talk a bit about street lights. Have you noticed, if you've been to this Karu axis, this Karu Maraba Road, the one that they try, at night, there are no street lights at all. The bridge is totally dark. I think those that are responsible for it should please look critically into that. The poles of the street light is there, about 2 or 3, but it's not. It's
Probably vandals have visited it.
no, it doesn't. No, I think that has always been the case. It's dark and it is not.
But
that's
why
why
you
hear-
allow the poles without the lights?
The poles are there.
It is the pole. without the
Exactly.
light.
It's just unfortunate that
It's
this
not
is
just
what
Cairo. It's not just Cairo. If you walk around FCT, there was a time we talked
Really?
about it. If you walk around FCT, I think it's one of the things that the FCT minister will look.
No, he
need
has
look
to.
into.
No, he
Because,
has to.
The level of insecurity. The things happening. We need everywhere to be lighted up.
Exactly.
All right, because it scares them away. Most times they go vandalize these street lights. You know, to allow them perpetrate their evils.
I was going to come to that, Ramsey.
Imagine on a bridge there's no light.
On a bridge, you know, it is so dangerous that it is so dark that even your light, you have to squint your eyes just to drive if you're not careful. It is blackout on that bridge. Okay, just try it out if you can. This evening, when let's say you're going to Cairo and then you're coming back, 7:38, it's blackout on that. It is total blackout. And then when you get to the base aspect, you start seeing a bit of light. But from that, anything can happen at a snap of a finger. That's why you hear so many accidents there. You hear people being robbed on the bridge because the place is totally dark. And I think we need to do a lot when it comes to creating this awareness about street light. The poles are there. I counted them this morning. I was like, 1, 2, 3. Why is it so dark on this bridge? And if you're not careful, you can tilt over. If you are not careful, if you have problems with the eyes and you're trying to manage, you can easily tilt
Sometimes
over.
an oncoming vehicle can even flash, and before you know it, within a twinkle of an eye, anything can happen because it's not everyone that even know how to use the headlamp.
Exactly. I know the worst part about that Cairo axis. You know what I'm talking about, because we hear a lot of issues happening along that axis from the tanker and all of that. And you see these bike men, the way they drive. I'm not saying they should. If you're going to take them out of the street, they should be a substitute. We should give them something because that's how they feed to at least to douse the tension of crime and all of that in our dear nation, Nigeria. But at the same time, they take this, it's like they tell you one way, and they just come in front of you. They don't even care. So it's really, really dangerous. I think the FCT minister really needs to look into that, and I think the needful needs to be done, especially that Carol access. The lights, there are no street lights on that bridge. From the bridge, it is total black out, and of course, like I mentioned, the poles are there. I counted one. I counted 3 coming. So it's unfortunate that there are no lights, and a lot of things can happen.
I think the FCT minister will have to do something about that.
That's on your way to town. That's hope.
As we are constructing new roads, it's also good for us to maintain the existing roads.
Exactly.
So that everywhere, this is FCT, of course. Everywhere should be lighted up.
Exactly.
At least now we even have the opportunity of using solar street lights.
True.
So that will even make it better.
And easier.
Unlike before that, we need to get a generating plant, and all of that.
Exactly.
Now we can do solar and all of that. I think the FCT minister needs to look into it. And the reason why we need to talk about it is because we know maybe the FCT minister may not have gone that axis.
Yes, exactly.
But people working with him, in his office should draw his attention to some of these things. He cannot be everywhere at the same time.
Very true.
All right, so we should, and that's part of the reason we're creating this awareness.
Very important.
It's very necessary, not just the Carol axis alone, but every other part of
exactly.
the FCT.
Very true.
By that we can call this crime to an extent.
Exactly.
Pickpocketers.
Oh my
goodness. You can just be walking and someone walk behind you, and before you know it, they drag you into their car, or maybe push someone out of the car and something. We are even supposed to have tracking cameras in FCT.
It's just
as you're perpetrating any evil, the plate number is being captured. The people doing these things are being snapped, and they can be traced. So many things have to be done in FCT.
I can't stop talking about a colleague of mine that was killed in the Pape axis. A friend of mine, Joe Waxy. He's someone that's an amazing colleague of mine back then in radio, and he was killed because there were no lights, and these hoodlums came, attacked him, and used the knife and practically stabbed him from his throat. He couldn't see. There were so many of them. So it's just unfortunate that we really need this, so people can actually see what is happening, because once they lynch on the individual when it's dark, they can do all sorts. And not only light, we talk about water. Like I said, I don't know about other areas, but we will get our facts right when it comes to other areas who do not have enough water. Like I said, Carol, there's in some areas there are no water, so the water board really needs to brace up, stand up, and do the needful. It's all about you coming door to door to ask for bill. I need to get value for money. People need to get value for money when it comes to what they are actually paying for. And like we always say, it's a basic necessity. So it's very important that we have all of these things put in check. But at the same time, no bad drama, no bad news. It's all about my colleague's birthday today. I'm excited about the cake though. So
I know. Part of the cake that she came with, I think she's going to go with a larger portion of it.
Half of it. I'm not ashamed to say, don't worry, I have a sweet tooth.
There's a saying, all right, that the husbandman has to be the first partaker. All right, so at least the person who brought it will have to go with the larger portion of it. All right, don't worry, your portion will get to you as it is. Well, talking about water, it's not just Carol axis alone. I think some persons will be, she's just talking about Carol.
No,
I know some Nigerians or some residents of FCT will be saying, what about
I know.
They're talking about power supply too. In fact, I don't know. I don't just want to talk about
these are pressing issues.
Abuja Electricity Distribution Company. I don't know
what's going on.
A lot going on. In my axis for a couple of days now, there's not been light. Why? Because the people just went to ask, why have we not been having light?
No, don't crack me up this morning, please.
Yes, just because the people went to ask, hey, what's happening? We're paying so much, but we're not having, the light is not there, the power is not there. And just because they went to ask, these people went on, I don't know if it is break or they want to punish the people in that location.
Why should you
just took the light for is it up to a week? There's no light. Imagine this heat. All right. I don't know, the airport road axis, Airport Road axis, you know, those around the axis will know around zone 8, zone 5, you know, they know what I'm talking about, Airport Road axis. Well, I think the needful needs to be done.
No.
AEDC needs to look at that and
very important.
Get quality for what they are paying for. I don't want to talk about tariff hike right now.
No. We're just talking about light and
data is running like River Niger. The thing is just flowing like River Niger and River Benue. Piam. Very expensive tariff, data, everything. But then we don't just want to remind Nigerians of certain things.
No,
we are still waiting for when the price of fuel will drop, because we're being told that the Naira, crude to Naira has been settled by the government and Dangote Refinery and other refineries, which is good. So we need to feel the impact.
Let's not forget the appointment in the private sector by Aliko Dangote that he just got now. So I'm sure that will bring, a lot of succor when it comes to privatization and all of that. Let's just see how well that plays out.
I don't know. Anytime you mention private sector, what comes to my mind is minimum wage.
Minimum wage.
Do private sector pay minimum wage? The reason why I'm asking this is because someone told me that before the federal government and state government started paying, his office started first. His boss started first in a private firm, down to the cleaner. And he said they pray for that their boss more than they pray for their own siblings and their own parents.
But I don't mean to. I'm not trying to bring out our boss, Dr. Ibrahim Biu. I'm just saying that. But that's what he does, as in here, Global TV. Everyone gets above that. As in, if you look at it, no one gets below the minimum wage. If you look at it critically. So it's just some that have the heart. It's very, like I always say, Ramsey, it's not about you being in that position. You understand that you have people that look up to you. You have people that actually, they find solace when they look at you and they know that you're there, and you're not just there because you want to be there or because of what you want to achieve for yourself, but you want to reach out and touch lives. I'm not saying that my boss is not asking for any political appointment. No, he's not. No. I'm just saying that that's what happens here. There's no one that earns below the minimum. It's just unfortunate that this is where we find ourselves in Nigeria, that some government parasites will actually stagger when it comes to, some governors will stagger when it comes to paying the minimum wage in some states. It's just unfortunate, really. Nigeria,
some state governors will even tell you they can't pay.
They cannot pay because they do not have enough revenue, and you just wonder.
Well, I think there might be a cut in allocations going to states right now.
Hopefully.
If you're following what's happening in the news, there might be. All right, I think something is happening towards that direction.
Okay.
If you're current, you know that there might be a cut in the allocation going to state governments. But then we'll keep you abreast. We'll keep you up to date with developments from stories. Now we will go through the national dailies to see what the papers are saying actually. Which of the papers are we looking at?
First, we'll delve into the Daily Trust, and that's the first paper we'll be going into at about this point. And below the nameplate of the Daily Trust, it says, Kwakwaso political future in limbo as defection rock NNPP. Gunmen kill 16 in Adamawa, Benue. Unfortunate incident there. Manufacturers battle for survival as energy costs rises. And it says, and the star story there says, 15 months after EFCC yet to release probe report on Edu Sadia. And that's by Express Flay delay. And it says, Plateau communities pick pieces after deadly attack. Unfortunate incident there, what's happening in Plateau State and of course Benue State. I saw the massacre. Gosh, it just brought me down to tears.
I think the burial was done over, the burial happened over and people couldn't go back their tears.
I couldn't.
Mass burial.
When I saw that clip,
oh my God.
When I saw that clip, I'm a very, very emotional person.
Parents.
When I
children.
When I saw that clip, Ramsey, I broke down in the studio. I couldn't help it.
Yeah, I think I was talking about it.
Yeah.
I was telling someone, I said my colleague, in fact my colleague couldn't, In fact,
oh goodness.
I remember when you were watching.
Oh my goodness!
Shouting throughout when you're hearing the cry of the baby.
Oh my goodness! It broke my heart, Ramsey.
It's so painful.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
A child watched his mother being killed.
Oh
in the
God!
front.
That is so traumatic.
And Kai.
Oh my goodness!
The child has not recovered.
No.
It's behaving, you know how it is.
What are you saying?
Behaving like it's we don't just want to go into that now, so that but we just need to be security conscious.
Did you see the other child that was just there and was just looking? He could. I think he was in shock.
Looking.
When his mother was killed, he was in shock.
Killed.
You know, it's just what is happening. I do not understand what is going on. When will the bloodshed stop? The bloodshed needs to stop. Every life matter. It's just unfortunate that this is what it is in Nigeria. We forget the brotherhood. We forget the unity. That
the one love. I don't know. See, if not until we start looking at ourselves as being one, put ethnic, sectional,
political
aside. Political aspirations, ideologies, let's just put it aside.
Please.
And know that we are one. You don't need to take the life of your own brother for any reason, whether political, whether for any gain,
religious,
or whatever.
All one.
Because you have the same blood flowing in you, the same breath. You know, I don't know how these people are being conscientized, or I don't know whatever they are being taught from anywhere that they are doing all of this. Well, we pray that the soul of the faithful departed will rest in perfect peace.
That is the prayer. And moving on now, it says federal government call to action over WHO, Gavi's alert on disease resurgence. Of course, we have to take precautionary measures when it comes to that now. Weeks to common entrance exams, FCT teacher strike lingers. And you can find that read on page 34 of the Daily Trust. And then it says hunger worsens in IDP camp as UN agencies cut operations. That is a serious problem now. That is a serious problem. But you know, people will tell you some of these non-government organizations, they are not, why this is happening is that some of them they do not portray what they say. Some hide under the guise of lending that particular hand to IDPs, people that are vulnerable, at the same time making and looting funds for themselves. But I don't think it's true. Some of them, they go all out. Some of these they go all out. I just want to mention, so I have friends who actually run some, and they go all out.
Some individuals as philanthropics.
Yes, they do. And some non-governmental organizations.
And some non-governmental organizations.
Yes,
then
they
there
do.
are still individuals who take advantage
In
of
fact,
these vulnerable people. It was on the paper that stuffs made for IDP was being diverted.
Of course, to their homes and sold.
So some of these things happen, but then I think, we need to sit up. Time has come for Nigeria to look inwards. Majority of the assistance we get from donors, there is withdrawal, gradual withdrawal. I don't know what's happening. Since the emergence of Donald Trump, so many things are happening.
But of course, I read recently that there's a bit of review when it comes to these visa stuff with Donald Trump and all of that. But we'll get into that. Maybe your political diplomatic perspective. So you go into that and delve. But sometimes there is a reversal in some of these laws that he has put in place. I think he's feeling the heat also by some other presidents, because once you do not have support.
You know,
a lot of people are going to court. A lot.
Executive orders, there is a way you can actually protest it. That's why protesters hit the streets, of the United States. The same people, you're saying your administration will have to look at Americans first. Then the same Americans are hitting the street because they are not comfortable.
We're not comfortable
with some of your executive orders, some of your leadership styles. You need to go back to the drawing board
immediately
and see what you need to do, to make sure these people are comfortable. And of course, I will keep saying it. Americans, just on their own, there is no nation that exists in isolation, that can exist alone. You need the support, the assistance of some other people, of other nations.
Very important.
To even be effective economically, trade-wise, the trade tariff and all of that. Look at what China is doing right now. If care is not taken, China is going to gain relevance this time because of this, But then let's just see what's going to happen at the end of all of this drama anyway.
You can free entry to China for 72 days. You can actually go to China and go and shop, go on a shopping spree. So, Ramsey, if you sponsor my trip to China, I'll be very happy.
No, China. If you want to go to China now, I'll ask you what you want to go and do.
Shopping spree. That's all, and come back.
Shopping spree.
That's
okay.
all. That's all.
Shopping spree. Right. If it is tech, if you want to go for technological advancement,
I'm going for shopping.
As a woman, I will sponsor that because.
So not shopping spree.
If you want to go for shopping, I'll take you elsewhere. But if you want to go to China, what I want you to do?
Oh, please.
Technology. China is flying very high as it has to do with tech. So as a woman, if you want to go to China to go and do anything tech,
they've given us a free avenue that come and shop till you drop and come back without any tax.
That's what China is trying to do. China is trying to let you know that in every area they are there. And the way China is going right now, if care is not taken, they are going to overshadow a lot of the big countries, a lot of the acclaimed big countries that have smooth economic growth. China they may get on the top list very soon because talk about technology, talk about trade, whatever, they are right there. Well, let's see. I think what China is doing right now is what ordinarily you cannot afford from these other big nations.
Exactly.
China is making it available. Remember what happened? Phone.
Yeah, exactly.
When handset came to Nigeria, you know how it was. You need to gather, in fact, salaries of 6 months will be able to buy one handset.
What's up, these iPhones?
We have phones everywhere.
We do.
Don't be surprised that China very soon they will have something that will do what every iPhone is doing right now. It's possible.
Very, very
it's
possible.
Technology.
Yes, it is.
Remember how it happened during the days of BlackBerry. Who is even thinking about BlackBerry?
No one is even looking at BlackBerry anymore.
BlackBerry is outdated. Very soon you hear that iPhone is outdated. It's possible. So 1 million, 1.5, 500,000. All right, buy iPhone. You don't have land in Abuja. You don't have land anywhere. You are begging people. You are depending on men to survive, and you are carrying iPhone of 500, 1.5 million. So
I don't know why you're
enough for
what is enough for?
For the wise people who are wise.
What has that got to do with anything?
No, as in...
If you have iPhone, so...
No, did I even mention gender?
I'm just saying.
Mention gender.
But we know where you're heading to. But it's okay, it's fine. No problem. Let's go to the next paper of the day. And
actually, we're going to talk about Edu and Sadia.
No, let's move on. Let's go to Blueprint newspaper.
Okay. I actually want to talk about those women because what a man can do, women can do better, and they actually did it better.
Oh, exactly. It's okay. It's fine.
But we need to hear something. We need to hear something. All right. NDLEA from the Blueprint newspaper rates Lagos hotel recovers over 1 billion naira illicit drugs. That's from the Blueprint newspaper. And this one says Wike clamps down on quack hospitals and doctors.
Amazing.
I think we're going to talk about that today. What's happening? The health sector, very, very, very important. The primary health care, PMC, are on strike. They've been on strike. I don't know, people who were attending antenatal, they are having issues. People who were on sick beds are having issues. Because before now, there were skeletal services in some places, but right now, it is total shutdown. And I wonder what's happening to the people in the midst of this economic downturn. All right, let's quickly look at this. For the 20th time, Liverpool crown EPL champions. That's from the world of sport. I must talk about that, but much later you get to know that from Talk Sport. Now, the big story, which is the star story on the Blueprint newspaper this morning, federal government secures $5.5 billion health investments to train 2,000 personnel yearly. I think that's good for me. Then two writers to that story engage Swiss Academy on Pharmaceutical Institute. Then the second one say 22 large-scale projects on the way. This is coming from Pate. All right, now to the next story, which says defection, opposition in disarray, democracy strong, alive. Presidency is the one saying that. Why wouldn't they say it when everyone is defecting? Well, I think we will need to find time to talk about this topic. Probably in one of our programs today, we'll need to talk about the rate at which people are defecting. Presidency is saying, well, it's part of the system. Some politicians are saying, yeah, that's why they call it politics. It's a game. If you know how to play your game, people tend to run to your side. That's more like the picture of what's happening right now. But then the coalitions are saying, well, we deal with Chanda. Let's see what's going to happen in 2027 anyway. Then just two writers to that story, and the first one says strengthening organizing opposition, not president's job. Onanuga is the one saying that. Tompolo backs Tinubu for 2027, urges North's support. Tompolo, well, I could remember how much happy birthday he wished the president during his birthday celebration on almost all the papers. So if I'm hearing this, I'm not surprised. Reform in oil, gas to improve revenues, support budget, LCCI. Then this one says a gunman abduct 7 in Kwara, police rescue 2. Adoption, insecurity everywhere. We need to do something about that. We've spoken extensively about that when we're talking about the situation in Plateau and Benue State. Now, still from the Blueprint newspaper, Governor Sani hails Ajayi as DSS bust Kaduna bandits and gun runners. Right? I think that's a good one. More should be done in other states, all right? Not just in Kaduna State, other states. The chief security, Governor Alia is crying out that the federal government needs to help him. But then, what has he really done as an individual, as the #1 chief security of the state? That's it. Do they even have vigilantes that are so powerful to combat these people? Because the people doing these things, like I saw someone writing something about 3 persons that were apprehended in Otukpo, Benue State. Someone said, well, these people have been here, we know them, they've been in this place, and that's what they do. They incorporate themselves into the community.
Exactly.
Then at the end of the day, they become informants and become attackers and kidnappers and, of course, headsmen that bring in other people to attack people in the community. That's so unfortunate. And finally, from the Blueprint newspaper this morning, the last story says Tinubu's re-election will reshape political landscape. This one is coming from AYN. All right, let's see how all of that is going to happen. All right, let's because of our time, let's quickly move to the next paper.
All right, the next paper is the Daily Times, and on the nameplate, above the nameplate, it says Nigerian Army arrests human parts trafficker, drug peddlers in Ogun. And the star story there says NDLEA raids Lagos hotel, recovers 1.42 billion naira illicit drugs consignment. And you can find that read, well abreast on page 2 of the Daily Times. And below all of that, we have a picture of another person than the FCT minister. Okay, no, that's not okay. This is a picture story of the deputy speaker. Here it says, I think there's a commissioning that's ongoing there. And it's like 16-year-old boy nabbed with gun in Lagos. And you can find that read on page 12. And you wonder to yourself, what is a 16-year-old boy doing with a gun? That is where we find ourselves here in Nigeria. People are finding means and ways of getting rich quick. And some of these celebs are not, they're doing more harm than good. Some of them, because of how you portray yourself, making it look as if the fastest way to get money is through the fast route. No, it's not. So let's try, we can do better. More PDP governors to join APC. Find that read on page 10. And it says EFCC reiterates warning to Nigerians on Ponzi schemes, and you can find that read on page 3. You saw the people that were out, the ones that are wanted by the EFCC.
Yeah, I saw
two people from Ibadan, the ones I saw, and I saw one from Lagos, Egbeda Idimu, and I was wondering, and I'm wondering what is going on. This anyway, I'm sure the FCC will clamp down on this. What is going on when they
call them promoters?
Are they really promoters or scammers? Which one?
They said promoters of CBEX.
Yeah, the CBEX people. All right, now still on the Daily Times, we have kidnappers open fire on travelers, abduct passengers in Zamfara. Really? And you can find that read on page 11. Now you wonder, you say to yourself, what is the best route to travel? People that cannot afford to go by air, that go by road, is it safe? You have to say all your prayers. You have to fast. You have to, oh my goodness.
It's not really safe to travel on our roads these days.
No, it's not at all.
How many people can afford to travel by air? Like it was done in Burkina Faso, that the price of air ticket was reduced by the president because of insecurity, so that people can travel by air. But then, no matter how you reduce it, some persons will still not be able to afford it.
Yes, and then of course,
imagine the peasant farmers.
It's just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate. But you should, let's talking about Burkina Faso. Ibrahim Traoré is doing amazingly well. Did you see the housing facility he made for citizens? He's doing a lot. And then you come and you wonder, you say, isn't it better that most African countries tilt towards his direction? Because there is so much growth.
Well, I think what Traoré is doing right now is proving a lot of perceptions
wrong. Oh my goodness.
Proving a lot of people wrong. That these things can be done if you really want to do it.
If you put your mind to it.
If you put your mind to it.
Without these international parties meddling into your affairs, you can actually have more growth, more good, more upliftment. Look at
some African countries, they want to be thinking about.
I think most African countries would tilt towards that direction, because you know there's this scenario that has been portrayed by the international communities, that without them there can be no civilization, no growth, nothing can move forward. But you can see Traoré, the Niger, Burkina Faso, pardon me, Burkina Faso president has proven beyond reasonable doubt that, hey, without your help, I can do much more than you can ever imagine. And I'm sure this was not something that he just woke up. It's something that he has thought about. It's something that he has pondered upon. It's something that he was on his drawing board day and night to actually see the way forward. And so far, oh my goodness, Burkina Faso, there's this transformation that is ongoing.
So people start traveling to Burkina Faso.
Are you? Of course.
People start. Well, I think we need to take cue. We need to take you. I remember when people were celebrating, wow, the election in South Africa is something else. It's something else. Are we ready to copy what they did?
No.
Are we ready to have their kind of democracy?
No, I don't think.
Look at what Traoré is doing. Are we ready to do the same thing?
No.
Or we need some specific kind of people to do that? I don't really think so.
No,
everyone who wants to do something will do it. If you don't put greed forward, if you don't put self forward, if you want to think about the people, if you want to leave a legacy that you will forever be remembered for, you and your family. A good name is better than riches. So just do it.
You know, the truth is, Ramsey, I know we're all human beings, and we always say that we all have someone said something really powerful, and he says, Jumai, I'm telling you the truth, we all have a little bit of that greed inside of us. Whether you believe it or not is the truth. I'm not saying do not take embezzle money for yourself. Embezzlement is wrong, but actually have a portion of that national cake. I'm not saying you shouldn't. But do the needful at the same time.
And it won't cost you anything.
In fact.
See, the truth is this. I'm not encouraging corruption. Please, let's get it right.
No, I'm not.
I've heard from some Nigerians who say, see, we're not saying don't take money because it is your workshop. That's where you're working.
Of course.
It's an office. at least, but then do the needful.
Do the needful.
Let's have the good roads.
Do you know what?
Instead of sharing millions and billions, let's have part of this money. Okay, allocation is coming. Money is coming for a specific project. Why divert that money?
That is the
outside
problem.
money you are getting?
That is the problem.
Even if you take out of the money, use the remaining, do something, let the people see it.
And the truth is, Ramsey, the truth, see, you know, Nigerians are very amazing individuals. We forgive so easily. You can do something bad to them, and if you just make up, oh, I'm sorry, or you just cry, or do something, we forgive, oh, he's a good guy. You know, Nigerians, we're loving individuals. See, at the same time, Ramsey, the truth is, if you do, on that seat, and you have so much money, and you do the need, and you take for yourself and your family, but you are
Nobody will
doing,
question you.
who cares? Nobody will
cares?
just nobody will ask. No one will ask. No one will bring you out. But once you take all, you want to just have it and have it and have it all to yourself, your family members, and the next thing you know, you do not do the needful. Then we'll ask questions, and we'll talk about your administration being bad or your tenure being bad,
Being the worst.
being the worst. So the thing is, for as much as I'm not saying go home empty, no, of course not. We are all Nigerians, of course. We're in that seat because it's
We want
progress.
you to succeed. We want you to prosper.
Exactly.
We want you to have money.
But at the same time, if you're going to scramble money for yourself, whatever seat you're in, whatever you're going to do, at the same time, please do the needful.
Yeah, give Nigerians the basic amenities.
Give us what we want, and we'll be fine, right?
We're not asking for too much.
No, we're not.
Nigerians are not asking for too
Even
much.
if it's our right, but at the same time, we're not asking for too much because you're the one that holds the power there. But at the same time, do what you can still do what you want to do, but just do the needful. It's very important. And we're not encouraging corruption. No, we're not.
No, not at all.
But we know that you have families, you have mouths to feed. Exactly. Especially when my amazing former governor Yahaya Bello that said something about the fees that he paid for his children, and he says, I don't want to delve into that because let's move past that.
As soon as you call Yahaya Bello, something came to my mind.
No, please. He's
youngest governor. Okay, but then the most, well, I don't want to say
please
that
don't
more.
be kind.
It was a guest that said it on one of my programs. I think that was it on Thursday or so?
What did he
Because
say?
I was talking
curious.
about there was a speculation that it's better for us to have youths, okay, younger people, younger bloods ruling this nation. Then someone used him as an example, But then let's don't go there right now. Let's quickly look at the nation's newspaper.
Yes, please. Let's
we'll be starting with the big story, which says Shetima Ganduje, governors to receive Oberuri into APC. All right, that's the governor of Delta State that defected to APC. Delta agog for big political event of the year in Asaba. Okowa PDP leaders move en masse. All right, that's the defection. Then this one says World Bank backs federal government's job creation plan. Well, we pray that plan will see the light of day because one of the things Nigerians need right now is jobs. A lot of people are unemployed, and that has resulted to too many harms. This one says Fish upgrades Lagos State to stable. Then this one says security operatives held for selling arms to bandits. Details on page 4. Who are those security operatives? They should be named and shamed. They should be named and they should also be shamed. That's what it is. And that's the size of the headlines from the nation's newspaper this morning.
And then, of course, we can take the Guardian newspaper at about this point, and it says here, below the nameplate, it says, conscience nurtured by truth. And here it says, don't don military attire, army urges Nigerians. Yes, it's very important. You do not. And you can find that read on page 5. Nigeria won't be great without agric, says Afe Babalola. And you can find that read on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. And it says NLC cancels May Day celebrations in Rivers, Edo. And you can find that news on page 8. And you ask yourself, why? Why? And here it says current solar industry snapshot. You can see it there. It's obvious. And it says solar panel import ban may trigger 150% price surge, worsen energy cost crisis. And it says no cash above $10,000 must leave Nigeria without declaration, EFCC warns. And you can find that read on page 9. Tom Polo endorses Tinubu for second term, says Fubara will return, and that's on page 3. Presidency, civil society clash over Tinubu's alleged one-party state agenda. And you can find that read on page 6 of The Guardian. And then below the feed of The Guardian says over 80 northern communities under ISWAP control, says group. That is not a good report. And you can find that read on page 5. What does that mean? On Friday here, Godwin mentioned something. He says in some parts of Nigeria, you have to pay 60 million naira to these insurgents group in order to go to the farm, in order for your communities not to be attacked. So now, to read this, over 80 northern communities under ISWAP control, says group. That is rather unfortunate. Where are we in Nigeria here? Fulani herders get 48-hour ultimatum to leave Benue community, and you can find that read on page 9.
All right, as it is, I think reading that, the truth is, I've met some amazing Northern Fulani individuals that I know who are not individuals that go into this sort of acts and all of that, and you wonder, some of these people, do they perpetrate themselves as Fulani coming in to cause havoc? Are they really Nigerians? A friend of mine asked that question. Jumai, are you looking down at it? Because no sane human being will want to kill his fellow brother. When you travel abroad, you don't have to be from the same parent. You're from Benue State, and I see you, and you just speak pidgin English. I want to buy, and I will tell you, hey, come, you can get it cheaper here. Come, and we work as if we have known each other for. The brotherhood, the love that happens when you're outside. I do not understand. Then why would we think? That was what the example he said. And he said, Juma, why would you think someone would want to, like you said, brainwash? And you just wonder what is going on. But we need the needful to be done as soon as possible, because a lot of lives are being lost in this process. What is the tussle all about? Is it, someone said it's political? That most of these governors, they actually know what is going on. Most of these top individuals know who are actually financing these individuals to terrorize communities in order to prove a point. At the cost of what? The detriment of people's lives, women, men, children. That's, it's just unfortunate that this is where we are. But we hope the needful is done. And we hope this is curbed immediately. Yeah,
we won't stop talking about it.
If leaving Benue State will stop the attack, good and fine.
Yes, please.
I think the open grazing thing was banned in Benue State for during autumn's time.
Yes,
I wonder why we're having all of this issue. Well, let's see how all of that is going to happen. Now we will make way for the AM news at the top of the hour, 8 o'clock, after which we'll return. And it's going to be time for us to look at the health sector and what the Minister of FCT is about doing and the instructions in FCT. We'll return for that after the AM news.
Don't go anywhere. It's Global Morning.
disbursing upkeep of 20,000 naira.
Know that you cannot talk about a healthy nation if you don't have means to produce your own in addition to importing.
The CG is the principal actor of this because it's within her jurisdiction. Minister is a supervisor.
We must run in accordance with the Constitution of CAN, where you have just a single time.
The human factor, you have the infrastructural factor, then you have the mechanical factors.
The Senate, with all due respect, they were so hasty in passing that judgment.
The statement I'm about to make is we're not even aware.
That is the future.
You have to be aware before you can begin to be prepared.
Do you know that Global Television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch Global Television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
And welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to AM News on Global Television. Coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Jumai Manson. Now, quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. You can download the Global TV Nigeria mobile app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. Now, the news info. Renewed push to accelerate Nigerian SEMA has called for stronger international collaboration and data-driven strategies to advance the country's Human Capital Development 2.0 agenda. Speaking virtually at a high-level roundtable on the sidelines of 2025 World Bank IMF Spring Meeting, Nigeria's Vice President reaffirmed President Bola Tinubu's administration's unwavering commitment to placing human potential at the center of Nigeria's development plans. A statement issued by Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Communications Office of the Vice President Stanley Uwocha states that Shettima said the success of Human Capital Development 2.0 agenda will hinge on data-driven, evidence-based interventions and sustained political will. The Yoruba Youth Council, YYC, has called on the federal government to declare a state of emergency in Zamfara State in order to restore peace and stability. The appeal follows the deepening political crisis and worsening security situation in the state. In a statement issued by the National Coordinator Eric Oluwole, the YYC expressed concern over the ongoing power struggle between two factions of the state's House of Assembly and the inaction of Governor Dauda Lawal. The council noted that while bandit attacks, killings and abductions are on the rise, lawmakers remain preoccupied with political infighting. The Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria FAN has confirmed the completion of emergency runway repairs at Akamu Ibiam International Airport in Enugu, allowing flight operations to resume on Monday, April 28, 2025. The European announcement was made in a statement issued and signed by authorities Director of Public Affairs and Consumer Protection, Obiagele Ora. Originally, the airport was set to reopen on May 6, following its closure due to insignificant rupture in the outmid surface at the critical section of the runway, as announced by FAN on April 18th. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Nyesom Wike, has directed a total clampdown on unregistered hospitals and quack medical personnel operating in the nation's capital. Larry Olayinka, Senior Special Assistant on Public Communications and Social Media to the Minister, disclosed this in a statement in Abuja, explaining that the Minister gave the directive while reacting to the death of a pregnant woman at a private health facility located in Durumi, Abuja, following a cesarean section. Olayinka said the minister warned that anyone found operating an illegal facility or working in an unregistered health facility should be arrested and persecuted. The president of the Nigerian Rescue Mission Organization and former president of Buhari Youth Organization, Dr. Jibril Mustafa, has urged former President Goodluck Jonathan to contest the 2027 presidential election. Mustafa, who made this call in a statement in Lagos, said Jonathan should heed the call to run for the office of the president again. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board has debunked rumors suggesting that it exposed candidates to exam centers outside the towns they selected. In a statement issued in Abuja, JAM spokesperson Fabian Benjamin clarifies that candidates are always assigned to centers within their chosen towns based on available computer-based test facilities. Benjamin emphasized that the board prioritizes candidates' conveniences, ensuring that the examination locations align with their preference among listed options. At least 5 persons lost their lives in an explosion in a residential area in Amako, headquarters of the Ogba Egbame Idoni local government of River State. Fine Face Damamene, an environmentalist and executive director of the Youth Environmental Advocacy Center, confirmed the incident in a statement. It was gathered that the blast was said to have occurred in one of the rooms in a residential area used for storing illegally refined petroleum products. The Kano State Pilgrims Welfare Board has announced the airlift of intending pilgrims to Saudi Arabia for the 2025 Hajj will officially begin on May 13, 2025. Chairman of the board, Lamin Rabiu Dampapa, made the disclosure during an inspection visit to hard training centers in Ongoro and Bichi local government areas. The visit formed part of the board's ongoing preparations for the forthcoming pilgrimage. According to Dampapa, the first batch of Kano pilgrims will be airlifted to the Holy Land via Max Air, following the schedule released by the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NATCON. A lecturer at Taraba State University, Professor John Aja, has called on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to urgently review Nigerians' commitment to the Economic Community of West African States, TranUnion's protocol, and fast-track the enactment of a national law binding open gazing across the country. Ajayi made the call in an open letter addressed to the president, where he warned that the country is facing a defining moment that demands bold executive action to protect national sovereignty, security, and unity. According to him, the Economic Community of West African States TranUnion Protocol, which was originally intended to facilitate pastoral mobility across West Africa, has worsened insecurity, encouraged violent land occupation by armed groups, and undermined Nigerians' territorial integrity. Operatives of Delta State Police Command have shot dead 5 suspected kidnappers in a fears-gone battle. Police Public Relations Officer of the State Command, Bright Edafe, confirmed in a statement, said the suspected kidnappers had engaged operatives in a gun battle after a raid on one of their hideouts in the forest between Isele Agbabu and Itulu. He said the operatives had earlier stormed another of the kidnappers' hideouts in Ago Amabia Forest, Anambra State, where they recovered one AK-47 rifle and 132 rounds of live ammunition. The Delta State Coordinator of the National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, John Van Dee, said a heavy rainstorm has wreaked havoc at the orientation camp in Iseli Uku, Anocha North local government area of Delta State. The Delta State NYSC Coordinator disclosed this during the swearing-in ceremony of the 2025 Batch A Stream 1 Corps members posted in the state. According to Wegbe, several key facilities were destroyed, including 6 electricity poles, the main kitchen stores, and other infrastructure. You are watching the live broadcast of AM News. When AM News returned, Namibia's minister reassigned amid kidnapping rape allegations. Details coming shortly, plus business and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us.
Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
You are welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is the live broadcast of AM News. Thank you for staying with us. Now, business story now. The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Olayemi Cardoso, says the reforms implemented by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government in the past 18 months are not easy, but are delivering results. This is according to Cardoso's excerpts released upon the closure of the 2025 IMF World Bank Spring Meeting in Washington, D.C. in the U.S. He explained that Nigeria's delegation attended the meeting to showcase economic reforms under President Bola Tinubu's administration. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, raised a total of 1.008 trillion naira at its open market operations auction held on April 25th, 2025. This follows an overwhelming investor demand that led to a 102% oversubscription. According to the Apex Bank data, the auction, which initially offered 500 billion naira across 2 maturities, attracted total bids of nearly 1.4 trillion naira. The monthly statutory allocation to state government from the Federation account may decline in the coming months following an official request by the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority (NSIA) to boost the nation's residual funds with the support of 100 billion naira monthly. The request, which was presented by the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of NSIA, Aminu Umar Sadiq, is aimed at unlocking large-scale investments to drive Nigeria's economic growth. He made the request at the March revenue sharing meeting at the Federation Account Allocation Committee meeting. On the foreign scene, the Namibian Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Land Reform, Mark Albert Hangari, has resigned following his arrest. Namibian Broadcasting Corporation reported this, citing press security at the presidency. Alfredo Hangari, the former minister, and served in the position for the only 27 days after being appointed by President Netumbo Nadi Dawate on March 22nd. Rwanda and Democratic Republic of Congo have signed an agreement to respect each other's sovereignty and come up with a draft peace deal by 2nd of May. The deal was signed by two countries' foreign ministers in Washington, with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio also present at the ceremony. Uyi Agbomofuegbe reports.
Thank you all for being here today. I'm honored to be here with my counterparts, the foreign ministers of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo, to witness the Declaration of Principles for Peace.
Hundreds of thousands of civilians have been displaced in recent months as Rwanda-backed M23 rebels have seized swathes of mineral-rich territory in eastern DR Congo. After losing territory, the government in Kinshasa turned to the United States for help in exchange for access to the minerals. However, there are indications that both sides are now committing to lasting peace.
We are clear in the Great Lakes region, peace must come first, followed by the rebuilding of trust, and then, only when conditions are right, the careful reopening of a path to meaningful bilateral cooperation.
Relations have been poor between DR Congo and Rwanda, that the meeting in Washington and a promise to resolve disputes through dialogue is a sign of progress.
Our common aim is to conclude a comprehensive peace agreement as soon as possible. But there are no shortcuts or quick fixes, and we have to do the hard work to get it done right, once and for all. Rwanda is committed, and we are ready to continue working together with all the partners involved to ensure the success of this initiative.
Earlier this week, DR Congo and the M23 group said they were committed to peace, expressing hopes that a permanent ceasefire could be reached. Uyi Agbomofuegbe, reporting for Global Television News.
The death toll from a powerful explosion at Iran's biggest port of Bandar Abbas has risen to 25, with more than 700 people injured. State media reports saying firefighters are working to fully extinguish the fire. The blast, which officials says was probably caused by chemical materials, took place in the Shahub Reji section of the port, Iran's biggest container hub. In sports now, Juventus are still closely following Victor Osimhen's transfer situation amid the uncertainty surrounding his future ahead of the summer window. Osimhen is currently on loan at Galatasaray from the Napoli, has been linked with top clubs in Europe thanks to his eye-catching performance in the Turkish top flight. Juventus will reschedule the attack in the 2025-26 campaign at Randal Kolo Muani on loan from PSG, while Desin Volok will likely be part on the market as a Serbian in refusing to extend his contract with the Bianconeri. Barcelona defender Julius Koundé struck deep in extra time to decide a gripping Copa del Rey Calcio final on Saturday in Seville, earning his side a 3-2 win over rivals Real Madrid. The Catalans, aiming for the Gaudete this season, won the first major trophy for the Hansi Flick's reign as coach and a record-extending 32nd Spanish club in dramatic fashion. Coach Flick spoke after the crucial encounter. Barcelona are scheduled to host Inter Milan in the Champions League semi-finals on Wednesday. Barcelona winger Lamine Yamal has claimed Real Madrid cannot handle this season. Yamal was speaking after Hansi Flick's men came from behind to beat their bitter rivals in the Copa del Rey. Julius Koundé struck a dramatic 116th-minute winner to clinch the trophy after Ferran Torres' late goal had forced the game into extra time. And that's it on Global TV AM News. A quick reminder that Global TV is on channels 365 and Star Times channel 276. You finally follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen by using Global TV NG. You can download the Global TV Nigerian app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcasts. Thank you for watching. I am Jumai Manson. Global Morning continues shortly. Stay tuned.
Dispersing upkeep of 20,000 naira.
Know that you cannot talk about a healthy nation if you don't have means to produce your own in addition to importing.
The CG is the principal actor of this because it's within her jurisdiction. Minister is a supervisor.
We must run in accordance with the constitution of CAN, where you have just a single time.
The human factor, you have the infrastructural factor, then you have the mechanical factors.
The Senate, with all due respect, they were so hasty in passing that judgment.
The statement I'm about to make is we're not even aware.
That is the future.
You have to be aware before you can begin to be prepared.
Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
disbursing upkeep of 20,000 naira.
Know that you cannot talk about a healthy nation if you don't have means to produce your own in addition to importing.
The CG is the principal actor of this because it's within her jurisdiction. Minister is a supervisor.
We must run in accordance with the constitution of CAN, where you have just a single time.
The human factor, you have the infrastructural factor, then you have the mechanical factors.
The Senate, with all due respect, they were so hasty in passing that judgment.
The statement I'm about to make is we're not even aware.
That is the future.
You have to be aware before you can begin to be prepared.
Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
A special welcome back from the AM News. It's so good that we brought you to speed with the happenings around. At least keep you abreast with latest informations and, of course, what's happening from Nigeria and around the world. Now it's time for us to look into the first discussion for the day. We'll be looking at the order given by the Minister of FCT to crack down on illegal hospitals and, of course, quack doctors. This has become so worrisome in the country. It's a big problem. But then, what else do you think can be done to avert this situation? Because so many things may have led to that. And anytime we look at the health sector, so many things come to my mind. Doctors are leaving. Apart from that, the health facilities, are they available? These are things the Nigerians are supposed to enjoy. So this morning, we want to look at the health sector as FCT Minister moves to address unregulated practices. Sometimes you even see people at the car park selling drugs. Who are they? Are they professionals? Some can just walk up to you and bring out things from their bag, call it supplement or whatever. Some hospitals are not even licensed. but people go there because maybe it's affordable or something. We have an expert joining us today as we look at this situation, and of course he's a communist and of course a public affairs analyst. Jide Ojo is joining us via Zoom as we talk about these incidences in FCT, the Federal Capital Territory. Good morning. It's good to have you join us this morning.
Good morning, Ramsey. It's my pleasure. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you now. All right. Many thanks for joining us. I want to look at the health sector. A lot of Nigerians are going through so much right now. And of course, myself and my colleague Jumai Manson will be talking with you about the FCT minister's move to address unregulated practices. We have a lot of people who are not experts. We have some hospitals that you don't even know where they get their licenses from. But yet, they still have people patronizing it. How did we even get to this level in this country?
Okay. Good morning, Noah. Happy New Week. We got to this sorry pass because of past successive government inactions and lackadaisical attitude. As you rightly pointed out in your prologue or in your background, what is the ratio of medical personnel to the population of Nigeria? We have a population of about 200 million people, but we don't even have up to 100,000 medical doctors practicing in country. Every month, hundreds of our medical personnel, from doctors to nurses to lab technicians to physiotherapists and all manner of health personnel are leaving Nigeria in droves. Some even are going to other African countries. It's not just UK, US, Germany, or Europe. There are those who have even left Nigeria for other African countries where they have better welfare services. Don't forget, about 3 months ago,
having a little hitch, and that's what he's saying is so true, because if you look at, if you go to some hospitals today, you see a lot of people. How many doctors do we have? You see people on queue wanting to see the doctor. If you go to the pharmacy, you see people on queue. How many people do you think a doctor will be able to see in a day? And how many of them will be able to get the necessary attention?
And that is why the quack doctors are now, they've decided to spring up. Now, let's talk about what happened over the weekend. That quack that attended to that woman, the cesarean case that happened, and she lost her life in the process because there was a power outrage. There was no power outrage that happened. It's just unfortunate that you see such a thing. Many people come up, and of course, I hear our guest has joined back on.
So, like I was saying, a couple of months ago, FCT doctors have to go on strike. On 3 days, resident doctors went on 3 days warning strike because of welfare issues. I remember I did an article in my column in The Punch where I was shocked by the pictures painted by the president of Association of Resident Doctors Abuja FCT branch, that in some hospitals, government-owned hospitals, there is no water. They have to be using their resources to even provide basic medical supplies. And that is the worrisome situation. So if government hospitals are nothing to write to me about, what do you expect an average citizens to do? You have to go and patronize. How many of us will go to any private health facility and start asking for the certificate of the doctor or for the license of the hospital? Do you even bother? Because if you are sick, and you are just in a hurry to get back on your feet. So I don't think we should blame the victim. The FCT minister is just playing catch up. I do not expect that under his watch, health practitioners, doctors will be going on strike. I just told you about the 3-day warning strike of the Association of Resident Doctors, or FCT. That was about February this year. And they painted so much, when you read their demands, you will know that we are just in the hands of God. That is why many people resort to faith clinics. They would rather go to Afa or go to church or go to Abba homes to get cure, because not only are the government hospitals in short supply, they are not well equipped, they are understaffed, and even the private health facilities that are available charge cutthroat amounts that you cannot afford. The woman that died in Durumi, you don't know what the entire story is all about. From what I gathered, the doctor was able to save the child, but the mother died. But are you saying that in government-owned hospitals, pregnant women don't die? It's all part of the bragado that FCT minister is trying to do. I've told you under his watch, the sorry state of our health facilities in FCT, not to talk of Nigeria as a whole. So because one person died in a private health facility, it has generated a cram down. Does FCT minister want to tell us that he doesn't know, or the mandate secretary in charge of health in FCT does not know the existence of these quacks or unlicensed private health facilities? Again, very recently I did an article on the state of fake drugs, fake and adulterated drugs. After the NAFDAC clamped down on Idumota in Lagos, Aba, and Onitsha Headbridge supply chain, where they recovered over 1 trillion naira worth of fake drugs that have been in circulation. You ask yourself, how did you allow this to happen? Many of us, when we are sick, you go to chemists, we call them chemists, that's health stores, drug stores. Do we even ask whether the owner of the drugstore is licensed? Do we ask whether he has a qualified pharmacist to attend to our health needs? We just go there, and if the drugs are too expensive, we leave. So, of our own volition, we are looking for cheap drugs. And when something is cheap, ridiculously cheap, you should know that there is tendency for that drug to be substandard, fake, or expired. So we are in a very dire situation. We are in a very dire situation. I will not lie to you. In terms of health, it's God that has been taking care of Nigerians.
All right, Mr. Ojo, I have a question to ask. Talking about these illegal facilities and these, quote and unquote, these unregistered doctors or pharmacists, but some of them have been in this particular business for years. They've been in this business for some 20 years and they're doing amazingly. What do we make up of those particular individuals? What do we say about them? That quote and unquote saving lives, but of course they're not registered and they've not gone through the rigorous training of being a health practitioner.
You see, anyone that submits himself or herself to the attention of an unlicensed health practitioner is taking a gamble on his life. Because somebody, I mean, even when the Durumi Health facility, it has not yet been established what is the qualification of the doctor that carry out the cesarean section. He possibly has been carrying out this same cesarean section for decades, but despite not being licensed or maybe unqualified. But you see, it's a huge risk one is taking. It's okay if you don't know. that this man is not licensed or is not qualified. But if you do know and you go to such facility, then you don't love yourself. And I don't think we should encourage other citizens to continue to patronize unlicensed and unregulated health facilities. The FCT minister is now talking about people not taking advantage of free health insurance in our primary health centers, in FCT, and all of that. How many people are aware? Is the needed awareness created for people who are pregnant to know that they can have free access to antenatal and cesarean section? Do they even know how to enroll on the free health insurance scheme? The point is there is need for proper sensitization and awareness. We need to create the necessary awareness. I do not know that pregnant women can access free health care in government-owned hospitals in FCT until when I read the publication that pregnant women can have free antenatal and free delivery services in our FCT primary health care centers and hospitals. But the awareness possibly is very low. And that is why I think our regulatory agencies need to do a lot more. As to the question you asked, I think the regulatory authority, the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, the NMA, Nigeria Medical Association, need to work collaboratively to go around often, weekly, taking different areas of Abuja and Nigeria to go on inspection. In fact, let me shock you, my dear sister. There are some health facilities that are actually registered but have unqualified medical personnel working in there. I don't know whether you are aware that majority of nurses in private health facilities are auxiliary nurses. We call them auxiliary nurses, who are just like somebody who went to learn from roadside mechanic, who just go through maybe 3 or 6 months of tutelage under a medical doctor. You cannot compare that kind of capacity building to somebody who went for 3 years nursing training. And that speaks to the issue of availability of health practitioners. As I've said earlier on, many of our health practitioners are leaving Nigeria in droves because of the very precarious situation across health facilities in the country. In fact, let me cite the example of University College Hospital Ibadan to you. Did you know that early this year, around January, February, the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company had to disconnect the public electricity supply to UCH? That's the foremost tertiary institution in Nigeria. They were disconnected from national grid on the basis that they were owing about 500 million naira in unpaid electricity bills. So when you look at the entire problem or challenges in our health facilities, you know that it's God that has just been taking good care of many of us citizens. How we manage to survive day by day, particularly when we are sick, is just a miracle. And that is why government need to double down. Incidentally, health is under the concurrent legislative list. It is what federal, state, and local government can key into. There is no exclusivity. But what we have seen is that majority of the funding and provisioning for health facilities in Nigeria is done by the federal government. Many states' health facilities are grossly under-resourced. They don't have enough medical personnel. They don't have, sometimes they don't have electricity. That's why I laugh when they are accusing where Mrs. Chidebere died in Durumi, when they said lights went out. Even in government-owned hospitals, lights do go out. I've read about doctors using phone touch, mobile phone touch to carry out medical
operations,
including cesarean section. In government-owned facilities, I'm not even talking of private, where they use phone touch, touch on their mobile phones to carry out medical procedure. Is that all right? It's so unfortunate, my dear sister.
All right, Mr. Mr. Jide, I have a question to ask. You mentioned auxiliary nurses. I've seen a particular pharmacist, a pharmaceutical facility, and then you wonder, and what you see is someone that just graduated from secondary school, and he's in front of the desk and he's prescribing drugs to you. I have seen that. Now, as a Nigerian, as an individual, creating that awareness, how do I know that this particular pharmacy is registered or not? What should I have at the back of my mind? It doesn't matter whether it's very big or a very medium-sized pharmacist or a pharmacy or a small. What will I have in my mind, at the back of my head, so that I would not be prescribed wrong drugs in the cause of getting cure for a particular maybe headache or malaria or something?
My dear sister, you know what you can do. First is to watch out for the license. It's usually hung at the entrance of the health facility. Usually you have it if a medical facility is registered. The first thing you enter, as you enter the reception area, you will see it hung at the entrance or somewhere in the reception. But how many of us even bother? How many of us care? How many of us will ask whether a particular health institution is licensed or not? We just want to get cure. The Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria will tell you that don't patronize health facilities where you don't see RX, a kind of cross with RX, outside or on the signpost of that facility. But I've patronized a lot of pharmacies, a lot of drugstores. I don't bother to check. What I bother about is just to see whether the health facility, whether the drug I want to buy is actually available. That's usually my primary concern. And people have said, when I was researching for the article I recently wrote on the state of fake drugs and fake and expired and some standard drugs, I discovered that many a time we are dealing with three different categories of drugs. There are those drugs that are substandard in terms of production. They are not up to standard. There are those that are expired, and there are those that are completely fake. And that's why some drug, what you are supposed to do, some drug have a QR code on the package, on the pack of the drug that you can scratch. It's like a scratch and win stuff. You can scratch it, and then you text the code on that scratch to a particular, what's it called? Particular dedicated number. It's like an SMS. And you are supposed to get immediate response to say, yes, this drug is certified, is standard and all of that. But how many of us bother? How many? Really speaking, how many? And many of the drugstores that are licensed are usually not operating in the urban centers. I mean, they are not operating in the suburban environment, rather, because in the suburban environment where the roads are bad, where people are in the communities. Who wants to go there on inspection in any event? And you now want to buy drug. Maybe you have to take a bike or take a taxi that will cost you some thousands of naira. You would be thinking about the cost benefit. And unless that drug is not available in your immediate neighborhood, you will not want to spend some 5,000, 10,000 to go to town in search of a particular drug. So a lot of awareness needs to be created, and we need improvement in our economy so that people will stop killing themselves. Because deliberately, even when you go to a drugstore, a pharmacy, and they give you 2 brands of drugs, you are most likely, an average Nigerian is most likely going to buy the cheaper one, not minding whether that cheaper one is fake or expired or substandard. And you know, the catch is usually that when they give you the brands of paracetamol that are manufactured abroad, and they cost almost 4 times the one manufactured in Nigeria. So if they tell you this particular brand is foreign, this one is local, and you just say, give me the local one because it's cheaper. And mark you, it's not only drugs you want to buy with your resources. There are other bills to pay: school fees, house rent, you have to eat, you have to transport. And so how many of us are earning enough to take care of our bills? Many of us, including myself, are heavily indebted. We are owing so much, and we pray that we don't fall sick. And when we do fall sick, we are looking for cheaper alternative to getting us back on our feet. So it's a conundrum, my dear sister and brother. It's a conundrum that we are just living by the grace of God. We are just living by the grace of God. I've heard several stories of how people have died out of negligence, not even medical practitioners' negligence, but their own personal negligence. When you buy fake drugs, it cannot work. And once your system forms a resistance to that drug, it then means that one may be on its way out of this world. So a lot needs to be done, but I think the economy, we pray that the economy will improve, because when the economy improves, then we'll be able to have more resources to take care of our medical bills. Do you know that we are advised to go for thorough medical checkup twice a year? That every year, 2 times, you go for thorough medical checkup. But if I ask you and Ramsey, Juma, if I ask you and Ramsey whether you have ever gone for thorough medical checkup, I'm sure the answer may likely be the negative because of the cost implication. Because of the cost implication. And then you still have to deal with the issue of high cost of drugs, high cost of health services. There are some hospitals, before you are even attended to, you are asked to deposit 50,000. Look at the case of the pregnant woman that died in Lagos, where the health facility the husband took her to, the husband was asked to deposit 500,000. Where will he get it? A woman that is already at the point of labor, and the man is struggling to even piece some little resources together. But the medical facility said unless 500,000 is deposited, they will not attend to the woman. And the woman eventually died. I think she died with the pregnancy. So these are avoidable deaths. But a lot needs to be done in terms of healthcare delivery in Nigeria.
All right. Thank you very much. Let me, because you've made a lot of sense right there. As it is, one of the things you've been talking about is the fact that most Nigerians resort to that aspect, patronizing quacks and fake hospitals that are not registered because of maybe affordability. Now, two questions I want to ask in one. These hospitals, it is supposed to be believed that they have people who regulate the activities of these hospitals, who registers them, and who go about to check whether or not these hospitals are fake or whether original, as the case may be. Same thing with the quack doctors. Now, what can we say about the people who are in charge of regulating and ensuring that all hospitals in FCT are registered? Why do we have a lot of facilities not registered? Then that's one. Then secondly, we've had cases of fake drugs being administered to people, being bought from the shelves at pharmacies, you know, the medicine stores, by people who are not experts or professionals in quote. What do we say about people at the border? Because most of these drugs are even exported into this country. You've seen some broadcasts on social media where they will tell you, well, if you see this kind of drug, you don't buy, and all of that is being imported from some countries. I won't mention the names now. What happened to the people at the border? Who is holding them responsible, and why are they not being held responsible for these drugs escaping them? We will hear fake drugs being burnt by NDLEA and all of that. What about the people that allow these drugs into this country? Because Nigerians, most times people don't ask. They just go get these drugs because the number one priority at that point in time is how lives would be saved.
The issue, Ramsey, is that there's a lot of corruption in the health value chain, a lot of corruption. One of the questions I asked when I wrote on the incidence of fake drugs, was it last month? I think it was last month in my column in the Punch newspaper. I followed all the drug busts by NAFDAC in Onitsha, in Aba, in Lagos. And I didn't read of any arrest that was made by the NAFDAC officials. They only talked about, oh, we were able to seize drugs worth 1 trillion naira. But what about the culprits? Because if you don't arrest, investigate, and prosecute the culprits, they will go back into that business of endangering our lives. Any medical practitioner that is unlicensed, that is unregistered, or pharmaceutical company that imports or produces fake drugs, adulterated drugs, or substandard drugs is endangering the lives of ordinary citizens. And it can be anybody who will fall victim, including a minister, including a director, including head of agencies. How many of us study pharmacy? How do you know that a particular brand of drug is fake? Do I have the expertise to know that this particular drug has even been ruled out? Did you know that for many years, people are still administering chloroquine for malaria when it has been banned for over 30 years? That people should stop using chloroquine to treat malaria. But some people, when they have malaria, they will even of their own accord ask them at the drugstore that they want to buy chloroquine, and it will be sold to them. I know of incidents of importation of fake drugs by some unscrupulous importers and drug merchants from Asian countries like India, China, and some other countries like that. And you ask yourself, if they are Nigerians, do they ever think that the evil that they are sowing will not be reaped by their family members? Because you want to make blood money. You import expired or fake drugs or substandard drugs. Do you know when it gets to those drugstores, whether it's your mom or dad,
Okay, I think we'll have a little hitch there from maybe the network. But then, like what I was saying,
it's a catch-22 situation that concerted efforts need to be made by all and sundry to help in the fight against these incidents of fake, substandard, and expired drugs. And it's not just drugs. Do you know that many of our wine and spirits that we consume in this country are fake, substandard, or adulterated? Even beverages, you buy some beverages of popular brands that have been faked, and then you drink it, and then you start having running stomach. Even water, many water factories are unlicensed, and then they produce and circulate sachet water, bottled water for people's consumption. It's not just about drugs. It's a very complicated challenge, health challenge we have. Because, you see, many have died as a result of what we are discussing this morning. Like the issue of unlicensed, unqualified quacks who are attending to patients. You know that is the fastest way to death, because this person has not been trained, yet he will tell you, I'm suspecting you have this. There will be, he will even send you to lab to go and do test, or he will send you to lab to go and do wrong test. He doesn't know how to analyze test results, may end up administering wrong drugs, or carry out procedures that will endanger the life of the patient. And many have died of undisclosed undisclosed medical negligence. And that is why you ask that right question: what are the authorities doing? We have the Nigerian Medical Association, we have the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, we have other regulatory bodies and agencies. Why have they been sleeping on duty? Why have they not been up and alive to their responsibility? I will tell you part of the reason. Because these organizations are grossly understaffed, under-resourced. Did you know that throughout this country, the entire staff of NAFDAC is just about 2,000 personnel to fight fake drug, adulterated drug, not just drugs, including wine, including food, including spirits that people consume. And what will 2,000 personnel do across 768 local government and 6 area councils? If you do the division, assuming they post some of their personnel to local government, does NAFDAC have local government offices? At best, what they have is state offices. And some of the state offices are not even where.
Our time is up. This is not a topic we can actually finish in just one discussion, because I wanted to ask a lot of other questions, because if we keep asking questions and keep talking about this, it's going to affect so much. Thank you for joining us today on Global Morning.
Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have a wonderful week ahead. Thanks.
And you too. All right. Well, as it is, if we want to talk about this situation, it's not just all about cracking down these people, but then would it resurface again? We're talking about FCT here. What about other states?
Exactly.
Go into communities, go into villages. You see, I don't know when medical practitioner becomes a trade, because somebody will tell you, just the way these people do, you have a shop, somebody come, stay with you, then you open for that person.
Exactly.
That's what some people do.
That's what they do.
You see some chemists, some medicine stores, and you hear, all right, that's my oga. You know, I learned from
I
this
learned
person.
from him, yes.
Some of them have not even been to the four
You
walls
know,
of the school.
I
Can't even pronounce the name of this drug.
They don't even know the drugs.
They don't even know the
and
drugs.
then sometimes I ask a question. There was a time I went to a pharmacy, I can remember. And then the next thing you know, the guy there from secondary school, he was like, okay, telling the other man, you have stomach pain, this is, and I said, come, excuse me, are you a real pharmacist? He said, no, but I've learned. I was like, you learned what? Are you kidding me right now with no prescription? He's not holding anything. So how do you know the drugs that you're issuing to him? Are you kidding me right now? This is what we get. Let's not even go to, how about self-medication? People just go to the pharmacy and tell you, I know that this is a real, they know. It's just unfortunate. This is where we are in Nigeria. Like Mr. Jide said, sometimes it's in the bid of saving cost. It's in the bid of where you find yourself. The availability, the desirable becomes the available becomes the desirable. And because of what is happening, most of our health practitioners, our doctors, our nurses are jackpot in that world sense. And you go to a hospital because people want to beat the queue. You see one doctor to like 100 people, and they tell you, why will I wait when this patient is actually suffering? Let me go to the closest answer. And you see of all these unregistered facilities and of course unregistered doctors, which some of them might. That's why I asked that vital question. They've been in service for 20, 30 years, rendering service to humanity, and now you're going to tell them that even the people in that committee will tell you, are you kidding me right now?
Try and error.
Try and error.
It may work and it may
not work.
I don't know how these people behave. They'll tell you, oh, that time that I had headache, it was this drug
that was given
this
to
person
me.
gave me. What's the name on the pack? Then they will just go to the chemist and say, I want to buy this drug. See the pack here. Do you have that?
Do you have it?
No, it's a gamble.
It's a gamble, and this is your life here.
I think more needs to be done.
A lot of awareness needs to be done, and we need to take this very seriously. This has to do with life, and it's very important that you understand the implication of what this might cause. A lot of people do not understand this. It's dangerous. It's really dangerous, and it can lead to death if it's not well managed. But I hope the FCT minister will be able to curb this, because it is a menace. Unregistered facilities and of course unregistered, unlicensed individuals who run these unregistered facilities. Hope it will be brought and will be curbed as soon as possible. But at the same time, it's not all about closing it down. What is the remedy? What is the way forward? Because with time, these things will still suffice. A lot of people will still patronize and say, yes, leave it like that. It has been helping us.
Some people go and operate from their homes.
Mr. Jide said something. He said it, and it's true. We are all surviving by the grace of God. Because many of us have visited this already.
Without even asking.
We don't even look at the RX.
Professional.
We don't.
The person is RX. Well, our time is not on our side. We need to move into the next conversation.
Yes, we do.
And of course, we want to look at something very critical. Societal development. We have a lot of people complaining. A lot of people want to seek justice for certain things and they don't know how to go about it. Mm-hmm. Some persons have been given quit notice and they are running from pillar to pole, not knowing what to do. Mm-hmm. So we'll be looking at something very important as far as the place of the law is concerned. When you talk about the landlord and the tenant, we have a legal practitioner joining us for the next discussion. Thank you. Let's go on a quick break. After this break, we'll return, and it will be time for us to go into the next discussion.
Stay tuned.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
and at the same time keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Many thanks for joining us. It is still Global Morning. This is the second discussion as we look at the relationship that should exist between the landlord and the tenant. Looking at it from the place of the law. What's the position of the Nigerian law as it has to do with the landlord-tenant relationship? I was just discussing with my guests before we came up of how a lot is happening in the society today. The quick notice thing, the relationship that exists, who is supposed to do this, who is supposed to do that. A lot of fight, a lot of quarrel. More so that we have so many people migrating to the urban centers. You know, and for the fact that there is some housing deficit in Nigeria, not just in FCT alone. And I have a legal practitioner, a human rights activist, and a notary public right here with me today in the person of Barrister Alex Ogbo, Esquire. It's good to have you join us this morning.
It's a pleasure to be here to look into this very sensitive topic. Thank you so much.
All right, let's look at it. You know, many times, all right, the relationship between the landlord and the tenant have a lot of issues. You hear, all right, I don't want you to stay in my house again. Pack your things and go. What is the place of the law as it has to do with tenant? Let's just look at tenancy agreements. Well, what's the place of the law? How is this supposed to be? What are the rights of a tenant in the house of the landlord? We also look at the rights of the landlord too.
Yes. Really, the issue of landlord-tenant relationship is well defined in our laws. Like in a city, just as is applicable to most states of the Federation. If a tenant is paying annually, you know, tenancy for a year, first of all, once the tenant complies and pays, the tenant is supposed by law to be granted unrestricted freedom, you know, to enjoy possession of the premises, all right? And the landlord is not expected, or the landlady, to go and disturb the tenant. If there's need for the landlord or the landlady to go and do inspection, you first of all give prior notice to the tenant that you want to come and inspect the premises for whatever reason. It has to be a prior information to that effect. Outside that, the landlord, tenant, or his or her agents is not allowed by law to go and interfere with a tenant who is in occupation of a premises. Then, being someone that pays yearly, if the landlord or landlady wants to give any notice, maybe quick notice on the expiration of the tenancy, the law states that such a notice should be given 6 months before the expiration. If someone's tenancy is to expire by December, you know, maybe let's say 31st December 2025, the law provides that the tenant should be served quick notice from the 1st of July 2025, so that by the end of the year, it should have been 6 months. So that's the provision if it's a yearly tenant. If it's a half-yearly tenant, the person is entitled to 3 months' notice. If it's a monthly tenant, a month notice. If it's weekly, 1 week notice. You know, it depends. But here, we don't operate weekly, as you see in other countries. So there's always this provision for the time within which a tenant should be given a quick notice. And if such quick notice is given and it expires on the 6th month, then the legal provision is that the landlord or landlady should now serve 7 days owner's intention to recover possession to the tenant. All right? If the tenant has not moved at the end of 6 months. And after the 7 days of owner's intention to recover possession, if the tenant still doesn't move, then you go to court, you know, file the processes, serve the tenant to come to court and be able to explain what actually is going on. So the legal process starts in the court. Now, also, you know, a tenant is expected to take care of issues like, you know, power supply, you know, issues, light bills, the use of, there are certain outgoings like the use of, you know, effluents issues that come from the toilet and all that. When such, like we call it the soakaway, gets filled up, is the tenant that is using that. So the tenant should be able to take care of the evacuation. But if something like the soakaway bursts, you know, that comes to the project itself, the building, the landlord is expected to come and repair. The same thing happens to the building. If there's any structural defect or error or crack and so on and so forth, or leakage, the tenant should allow the landlord to come and effect repair of such things. But the tenant is expected to keep that property in what the law calls tenantable condition. When you come into the property, okay, the doors are okay, the windows are okay, the roof, the ceiling and all. You keep the house neat and tidy. There are some tenants that when they get into somebody's property, the way they use it, by the time you set your eye on the property, you become so discouraged. Some people are willingly and carefully, you know, determined to be lousy and dirty. It's not expected of a tenant. If a tenant misuses a property, it's one of the conditions that can warrant a landlord or a landlord to issue a quick notice, because the property has been kept in a state of untenantable condition. And when a tenant is to quit, it's also supposed to put that property together the way it was when the tenant comes. But in this country, we know that most tenants do not do that. Abroad, you cannot leave a property, you know, in bad state when you are living. You have to put it together, or you pay the financial equivalent. If they want to go to court and it's established that someone has abused the property, the law will award to the landlady or landlord the money with which the repairs should be effected. Okay? And the tenant is not allowed by law to owe and go with it. Any single hour you owe or day, the tenant is expected to pay. Now, for the landlord, these are the things that, you know, are beneficial to the landlord, keeping it in good condition. The tenant is given a lot of rights, you know, undisturbed possession. As you live there, nobody is supposed to interrupt or disturb you. Even if the landlord is to send agents, like I said, there had to be notice prior to such a visit, you know. But one of the things that is causing big problem in this country now, once the fresh subsidy was removed and the federal government embarked on increment on everything, water rates, you know, power supply bills, in terms of just everything is increased in this country. Because of that, all the landed properties, all the buildings have their rentages increased astronomically. And it's unbearable, but because of the state of the economy. So tenants are finding it very difficult to get properties to rent. And because of that, you see, there are this challenge of quick notices left, right, and center. You know, but the state of the economy is what is causing the problem, because landlords or landladies do not operate in isolation.
But does the court recognize economic situations affecting, because as it is, if there is an increment and the tenant can't pay, all right, and it resulted to owing so much, if the case gets to court, does the court recognize the place of hardship in the law?
No, you see, what the court does is to interpret what the agreement between the landlord or landlady and tenant is. What did they agree at the point of the contract, tenancy contract or agreement? Because in that agreement, the rate or the amount to be paid is usually stated. All right? And that is the agreement which the tenant has subscribed to before moving in. And when you move in, the law expects you that you should abide by that agreement that you made. So the law will not come to alter the price for the tenant or the landlord. They agreed about it, and the tenant accepted and moved in. What the law is trying to do is that let there be compliance, and two, let the landlord give unfettered access to the tenant who has paid and moved in. But if a tenant is owing, the law is out to assist the landlord or landlady to recover what is being owed. If a matter goes to court, at times tenancy issues or cases can linger in the court for 2 years, 3 years, at times 4 years. Within those periods, whatever the tenant is owing, the law will mandate the tenant to pay. You know, so that is what is there. And you know, there this general notion.
So let me just come in, because that is very sensitive. That period of 2 years that the case is in court, would the tenant still be in the house of the landlord paying, or you will just be there to clear the backlog? What about the ones you're staying when the case is in court? Will there still be payment for that period?
Yeah, it's good to ask that question. Once a landlord serves a tenant quick notice, all right, the law assumes that the tenancy terminates at that point. But every other hour or day the tenant stays, that's what is called the mean profit. All right. For instance, if a tenant pays, just for illustration, 12,000 naira per year, it means that a month such a tenant pays 1,000. Once tenancy, quick notice is served, then the tenant is expected to be paying monthly what is supposed to be when you spread it out for a year. So it's counting from the time that notice is served. Anything the tenant are owing before the notice is served is still a debt. Then every other day the tenant stays. Per month, the tenant must pay to the landlord and landlady everything that is supposed to be paid monthly. So as at the time the case is decided in the court, all the period the tenant stays will be calculated together with whatever the tenant was owing before the notice was served, all had to be paid to the landlord. So you can't stay free. And let me quickly chip in this. Most tenants, I don't know where they get the idea, believe that if a landlord or landlady serves a notice, that you should give them 3 months until you give them 6 months to go and look for alternative, free, without paying. There's nothing like that. Any single day you overstay, even an hour, you overstay in somebody's property, you're owing, and you have to pay for it. If at the end of the court process you didn't pay, the landlord or landlady will still go to the court for enforcement of whatever judgment the court has given. There's an enforcement unit in the court. By the time the process is started, the enforcement unit will come with security officers and take every property that belongs to the tenant to the court, which the tenant is expected to come and repossess after paying, or in the event of not paying, it will be laid to auction. It will be put up for auction. After that auction, the payment, the debt being owed by the tenant is defrayed to the landlord, paid back to the landlord. Whatever balance remains can go back to the tenant.
All right, let's look at the issue of some landlords giving the tenant the instruction of how many people the tenant can bring to the house. Is that constitutional? Because you talked about the fact that if you have paid, all right, if you have paid for the facility, you have the ownership, and you possess the ownership, of the premises.
Yes.
But some persons will tell you, this is my house, I don't want more than 2 persons. I don't want more than 3. I don't want more than 4. Some will tell you, I don't even want 2 female or 2 male. It should be a male and female, or it should be just female. Such a prescription and directive, is it constitutional?
That aspect is not even very pronounced in our country now. Abroad, you see it being highly operational. That a particular space, 2-bedroom flat, 3-bedroom flat, should be occupied by so and so number of persons. Tenancy laws provide for that. Here, our people are not yet strict, though some may be implementing that. There used to be legal provision for the number of people that a building capacity can take in order not to overstretch the facilities provided in the building. All right? So there used to be a legal provision for that, but implementation is not strict here yet. Abroad, people will let you know that it's very strict. In fact, when we were at the university, one of our lecturers gave us an illustration. He went to UK for a study and paid for a 3-bedroom flat. By the time he concluded his travel documents and facilitated his movement and visa and all the rest, that he moved with the wife, either was it 2 children or so, and his mother. By the time they got to the place, it's a landlady that owns the property. Once the lady saw them, she said no. He instantly refunded their money at the entrance to the house, that this number cannot enter this house. 3-bedroom flat. The man was shocked. If it is here, more people should have joined. Refunded the money for him to go and look for a bigger facility that will accommodate them, that they will overstretch the property. So the law used to make some provisions. The implementation is not strict here yet, though some may be invoking that. And that will also make people to really appreciate the challenges of rentage. And 2, it will also make some tenants to, there are some tenants that abuse the provisions. You get into someone's property. You're supposed to handle it as if it's your own. But some will mess up the place, dirty it, allow the structures to get dilapidated, to be destroyed. There was a particular experience I had. I was to enforce this issue of a notice on a particular property, and by the time I got there with the landlord, I don't know how the man did it. If you get into the kitchen, you vomit. From the floor up to the ceiling, everywhere was filled with soot, dark soot, all over, all the 4 walls. The windows were broken, the doors were destroyed.
And he was living there.
He was living there with the family. He was still there. He was still there. So one wonders, how do one do it? That smoke will stain the whole walls, windows, everything, and you feel comfortable, you cook there and you eat. You yourself, your wife, your children. So some people are reckless. There are tenants that when you have them, you enjoy their being in your property. Because people don't just issue notices anyhow. There are some tenants that are troublesome. There are also some landlords and landladies that are troublesome, vice versa. So if you meet a troublesome tenant, such a tenant will always have issues with landlords. But when you get a good-natured tenant, you see that a landlord or landlady will not really want the person to go. So it's important to treat one's property as if it is your own and have a good relationship. In the sense that there are people, the way they lack manners, the way they talk and all that, the way they react is all about abuse and insult. These are the things that provoke, this issue of notices. And you see, this we call them statutory notices. Notices that have to serve to a tenant based on the length of time, whether it's a year, the person is staying, or half a year, or 3 months and all. The law also made provision that if a landlord or landlady wants to make use of a property occupied by a tenant, it could be that a member or members of the family of the landlord or landlady are coming in. Then the law provides that the notice that should be served could be abridged, will not be up to the length the law expects. Notice must be given, but it could be shorter than what is expected. Like instead of 6 months, it could be a shorter period, for the reason that the landlord or landlady want to make use of the property, either a family member or that, is to come in. All right. So, but where also a landlord embarks on inspection and discover that the property has been so badly misused by the tenant, is a breach of the tenancy agreement. Because in the agreement it stated that this property should be used in such and such a manner. It sees some provision that there will be no storage of explosives in the property, all right, and so on and so forth. If you declare that a tenant is bringing in such things that could make the security agencies to put the landlord or landlady in a bad state, that is a breach of tenancy agreement, and that could lead to notice being served that will be shorter than what is provided by law. So interrelationship really matters.
Barrister, there are some houses or some agents in Abuja. Okay, landlords. Let me just begin from the issue of tenancy agreement. Some places you just see an agent just get a house for you and all of that, and the only thing you get is a receipt, just the payment receipt. Most of the houses, not just in FCT, in some parts of Nigeria, does not have tenancy agreements. You just get into the house and all of that. So how can you enforce or maybe implement all these laws if there is no tenancy agreement, if there is no agreement?
Actually, you see, when an agent or a landlord or landlady lets in a tenant, and there is no tenancy agreement, is a dangerous trend. Yeah, the receipt is very crucial because it's evidence of payment. What the law says, if there's no tenancy agreement that specifies the relationship between a landlord and tenant, but there's that evidence of payment, what the law does, when it comes to issue of notices to be served, the law now looks at the mode of payment. If this payment is yearly, the statutory arrangement is brought in by the law to define how the notice should be served. It should be 6 months. If it's half yearly, it should be 3 months, and so on and so forth. But where there is no agreement between landlord and tenant, it's not a healthy condition. So any agent or any landlord or landlady that lets in a tenant without tenancy agreement is not doing himself a favor, because tenancy agreement specifies in clear terms what relationship should be. Where there's no tenancy agreement, most of those opportunities you have to talk of what the relationship should be, you don't have it properly. It will only take maybe legal intervention in the court to start defining, because there's nothing stated. Okay? Though it doesn't give the tenant a leeway to also behave anyhow. But tenancy agreement is very important. In fact, the law says that where there's tenancy agreement, and in that agreement, a landlord and tenant has agreed that the mode of notice that should be served should be shorter than what the law statutory provides. That agreement entered into by the two will eventually supersede. There are cases where a tenancy agreement states for a yearly tenant that a notice should be 3 months. If a tenant accepts that, the law allows it to go through, you know. So these are the things. Tenancy agreement helps so much both landlord and tenant to define conditions. For instance, the illustration you gave, where a landlord is saying that so and so number of persons should not be allowed. It is tenancy agreement that needs to specify that. If you specify the tenancy agreement and the tenant is comfortable with that, then you're expected to abide by it because you saw it and you signed. If there's no agreement, you can't enforce that. A landlord cannot come later and tell a tenant that, no, I can't allow 6 people into this place. You don't have such a right because there's nothing specifying that before the person entered. So that's the benefit of an agreement.
All right. Let's look at the activity of this. Is the estate agents, they call them, or house agents? These people who parade themselves.
Estate agents.
Estate agents. You know, you pay them to help you look for the house. Then there is a percentage they get afterwards. These people, according to some Nigerians, said they are the ones that even dictate to the landlord to increase prices. Like you were talking about how prices of houses skyrocketed after the removal of subsidy, not minding whether the economy is stable or not. And these people are after their percentage because the higher the rent, the higher their percentage and their commissions. Is their operation legal, and do they have the legal right to increase this money, the rent?
When it comes to the function of the estate agents, they are middlemen. They are very important in the society in the sense that when a tenant is looking for a space to rent, you may not know where to get it. Even a landlord that has a property, you may not also know where to get tenants to come in. It is these middlemen that help to scout and get tenants to come in and get landlords that have a place to rent. So they are middlemen bridging the gap. The law recognizes them. And it is these middlemen also that are very conversant with the current rate of properties in whatever location. Because they operate on daily basis, they know what the worth or the value of a property is at each point in time. If a landlord wants to overrate a property, these agents will let you know that this place you are is not up to this. Because this is what prevalent. It's prevalent in the place. So they are current with information. If what the landlord has in mind or landlady is also lower, they will let you know that this place has appreciated because of the current affairs they have. So they are very crucial to the society, really. Their rate also, you know, they are even very strict when it comes to their rates. Most of the time it's 10%. They were in some areas you see some of them talking of 15%, 20%. So the law recognizes the activities of the estate agents. In fact, to the extent that the law is even prohibiting lawyers from acting as agents. You are entitled to your legal services. You prepare documents, you charge for that, and you get paid for that. But the law is even fighting lawyers from being estate agents.
But some lawyers are doing it.
It's
illegal?
Some are doing that, but the place of estate agents is strictly recognized by the law. That these estate, like I said, are middlemen, and they have a great role to play in the society. So the law recognizes them. Okay? You can't do without them, really. If you are looking for a property, you don't even know where to get. It is these people. Just by a snap of a finger, they give you details.
And they have a lot of connects.
They have, and
network is something else.
And why you see that they even charge that 10% is when that payment is made, it's not that person you are seeing that takes the whole money. They share it according to the information.
Yes.
Because if we link up with some others who will let you know the one that is available, at the end of the day, they share this among themselves. So they are recognized by the law.
All right. Thank you very much. I would have wanted us to talk about the rights of the landlord. We started with that of the tenant. But then the way you actually spoke, you were able to marry the rights of both the landlord and that of the tenant. And that's a very good one. It's an education right here. It's an information right here. This is what we get on Global Morning. And of course, I don't know, there is supposed to be a smooth relationship between the landlord and, of course, the tenant. But in most cases, reverse is what we get. But as it is, I think this is very necessary. In case you don't know, tenancy agreement is necessary. You can insist on getting it so that your rights will not be trampled on. You will get to know what you are supposed to do while you are in that facility. Thank you very much, Barrister, for joining us on Global Morning.
It's always a pleasure to be here to contribute to public development and enlightenment. Thank you so much.
All right, let's go on a quick break. After this break, we'll bring Global Morning to a close. Stay with us.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews, latest news with experts on key global issues,
and at the same time keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
All right, now it's a time where we have to wrap it up on the program, Global Morning. Thank you all so much for being a part of the program with us from 7 till now. And I hope you were well informed when it comes to landlord and tenant, and of course, talking about pharmaceuticals and of course, fake drugs. We hope you were well informed in all of these amazing topics today. Right, Ramsey?
Well, I think this information is very necessary
Very
because
key.
a lot of people have learned. Just run with this, and this and many more you will be getting on Global Morning every day.
Every day. And with that, we have to wrap it up on the program Global Morning. Join us every other day from Mondays till Sunday. Of course, Global Morning is on. And from me, I am Jubai Manson. Thank you all so much for being a part of the program. And my amazing tag team support group right here. Another person than
Ramsey Enoch Agbo, it's my name.
And happy birthday once again.
Yeah, thank you for celebrating me.
Have an amazing day ahead. And from Ramsey and I, we say bye.
Welcome to Global Morning.
Death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure. If you don't say we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from the
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
We struggled as a strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a life. The president never gave me any deadline.